Hello, Hermione. Is it Hermione? Hermione?
Um, Harmony.
Harmony. Cool.
Yes,
It's a pleasure to meet you.
it is a pleasure as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you. Okay, you said in your meeting invite when you signed up for this that you wanted to learn from experienced effects artists and especially their mindset. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're at currently, what you've studied already, or where you've worked, and where you're trying to get to.
Okay. So I've done my studies at Ether Digital in Paris,
Hmm.
working on 3D modeling, animation, game production.
Hmm.
And after 1 year, 1 year after I finished my studies, I was hired by Gameloft. I
Awesome.
was recruited. I was recruited to do some VFXs for small projects inside Gamelofts, like prototypes of games and stuff like that.
Right.
So even if VFX weren't my main field of skills, I ended up working on it uh, for about a year now.
Yeah, on small prototype teams. That's really cool. So, like, about how many people were on those teams when you were doing prototyping?
So prototype teams are around 3 to 4 people involving program. It's usually one programmer, one game designer, and a UA/UX artist that works
Cool.
with me.
Cool.
So we work on multiple prototypes at the same time. We are around 20 in totals. So we run like 2 to 3 prototypes at the same time.
That sounds like a really cool job. So, you were doing all kinds of art then.
Yes, it's super fun. Uh, I tried to record most of it, but sometimes I just don't have the time.
I
And
understand.
and well, the one cool thing at Gamelabs is that they allow us to do. We have a things called errand days, where we simply work. Like our goal is to acquire other knowledge or to expand on what we have. It's basically a day, 1 day per month, dedicated to learning and deepening our skills.
Hmm.
So this is why. How can I send you a link?
I have a link to your work on ArtStation. I can bring
Yes.
that up.
Okay.
So
So
let me see.
recently I've go ahead. Oh,
I'll just bring it up here. There.
yeah.
Okay, but go on.
And
Continue.
so recently I just finished a more cinematic. You can see at the left, top left icon,
Yes.
the flower bin VFX.
Hmm.
It was like so we usually don't have the time to push really VFX in terms of visuals and number of particles,
Hmm.
and this was my. It was a training for me to go deeper because we tend to be very limited due to optimization issues and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make like my super laser from with a kind of a Pokemon style kind
Right.
of attack. So this is what I come up with, but it was a lot of struggles, especially on the design part. So this is what I wanted to learn from you, like your approach to design VFXs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, super impressive. I love it.
Thank
I
you.
think it's so cool. Um, yeah, I mean, we can dive right into the critiques. I guess before I do that, what's helpful for me is to
Yes.
understand your goal of really, I mean, because you've got a lot of great work as is, and you're really on track. Like in your career, do you enjoy being the generalist? Do you want to specialize more in any specific area? Or are you just trying to be really super good at all of it?
Well, it's kind of tough. I tend to like. I tend to work where I'm needed. We needed VFXs, fine. I'll just work more on VFXs. But if
Right.
tomorrow I'm asked to do more 3D modeling, for instance, well, I just go back to that. But for now, it's VFXs, and I'm really having a lot of fun.
Hmm.
So I think I want to see if I can go forth with that career line, let's say.
Awesome.
And
Okay.
so yeah,
Well, I am happy to help you with that. That's fantastic. I think you will discover, you've probably already noticed and discovered that you're very valuable to the studio when you have so many different skills. I think that's wonderful that you're open to learning so many different things and practicing and growing in so many ways.
yeah,
So I would love to help you with the VFX part. I think you've already discovered that like what you've learned in these other areas is helping you with effects because your sense of design and shape and color is pretty strong. You've got some really great things going for you. I guess we could just dive right into this, and you can stop me at any time and ask questions as
okay,
we're going. So I definitely got Pokemon vibes when I saw this. I was like, it's so
yeah.
cool, it's so cinematic. I think so. I think this could benefit from a concept pass. Did you do concept art for this beforehand?
So I did, but unfortunately, I cannot. I don't have access to that concept right now. Sorry, I cannot show it
It's okay.
for
It's
now.
okay. So you've made very bold choices, and I think I would like to see, was there anything in the concept that didn't get carried over? Because for me, I'm not sure what the theme of this is. I mean, it says flower, but then it's also two-tone flower, so it's blue flower and red flower.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, is it like a spell that does like two types of things, like it burns them and freezes them, or does it do physical damage but also magical damage? Like, is
Mm,
it a regular attack and a special attack? Is it like I'm because I'm seeing the two colors mixed in, and I'm curious thematically what they do. Like the story of this effect is not super clear, even though it's
yeah.
well crafted and it plays out nicely and it's really fun. I think what would enhance it more than anything is if you really clarified the story behind it. And
Yeah.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
You first.
Okay, so yeah, I struggled a lot for the design, notably because I just knew like what kind of color I wanted and shapes,
Uh-huh,
and I knew I wanted a flower beam, let's call
uh-huh.
it that way. But like the circle around behind the flowers, it was meant to be clouds, but then it was too much for me to choose. So I decided to simplify it. So it was a lot of iteration, and but I never had a clear theme. It was just do a laser, a pink and blue laser that seemed to send tons of to inflict tons of damage. That's
Hmm.
all I had in mind, but it might not have been enough to get
Well,
a distinguished theme.
yeah, and that's really a good lesson, right? Is we talk about this in the first lecture about choosing a thematic and just being clear with your pillars. And so
Yeah,
you know what's important and what's not important. And so I think this is actually a case where maybe just one more pillar would have been helpful. Like,
yeah,
is this, if it is a Pokemon, is this, well, first off, is it like in the Pokemon world? And if you want to go that route, then what type of ability is this? Is it a normal ability? Is it a fighting type ability? Is it special damage? Is it normal? Like they have a whole structure of rules that
hmm,
really helps flesh out all of their spells in that game in particular. Or if it's like a Final Fantasy ability, what school of magic is it, and in which Final Fantasy game, right? And so, like, is it a summon? Is this thing supposed to be like a character, or like, the eye of a god, or is it like, a flower that a god summons
hmm,
in Final Fantasy, or something like that? So there's a lot of different ways that you could go, and I'm not going to prescribe which one is the best. Or if you want to come up with your own idea for like a theming in a game, and you're like, no, I don't want it to be like just like Pokemon. So maybe uh, maybe it is like ice and fire together, which is something that doesn't happen in one ability in Pokemon. They don't combine two elements together,
Right.
and that could be a fun challenge of like, okay, I want it to be like a flower, which is the earth part, and then fire and ice. So it's like all three in one, you know? That could be
Yeah.
really cool. Or
Yeah.
or something along those lines. But I think once you have an idea of the theming, then you're going to know, is the fire clear? Is the ice clear? Is the flower clear? Because it almost feels like, I mean, as it is, I guess just to break it down as it is, it feels like there's three, uh, well, there's probably four things going on, in my opinion, which is maybe a little too much because any one of those four is not quite enough to carry its own. So I'm seeing the dark energy or like a black hole because it's like
Hmm.
black in the center of not just this black hole in the middle, but also all of these have like a black center to them, right?
Yeah.
So it's like dark energy, but it's in the formation of a flower. So that's two. And then it's blue and red. And those say to me, I mean, initially I thought fire and ice, but then also they're blended together so much that I'm like, oh, maybe it's like magic and rage, or like, physical and ethereal, or something like that. Like it's
Mm,
that kind of thing.
I
um,
see.
Blue and red are used for a variety of different things in a variety of games, and so being aware of what your viewer is going to assume about blue and red, you know, like
Yeah.
there's any number of things. Like it could be water, it could be ice, it could be sky or wind, or it could be magic, or it could be healing, or it could be like blue kind of goes with all those things. Friendly, blue is often friendly, and then red is like, enemy. It's fire. It's maybe like a solar or an astral heat,
Mm,
or maybe it's like anger or rage, or it's like very physical, or it could be like blood, or like evil summoning magic, or like, so red can be all those things, right? And so
yeah.
just giving it enough definition in the shapes that you're showing to let the viewer know or give them some hints about it. Now, all that being said, your timing and your composition is awesome. Like, seriously, I just want to watch the whole thing again because the way that you've timed it all out, I hope you still have these camera moves saved. So if you go back and make edits, it's already built in, because the camera and like the shapes and the beam and everything, it's gorgeous and wonderful.
Mm,
So there's a lot there to keep. It's just the theming that needs some refining.
yeah. Timing was something I struggled a lot. I actually had someone that helped me to give it more punch and
Cool.
adding the screen shakes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely a point that I should keep in mind. Like the importance of timing and to give just more energy to the VFX.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so I think I've gone over that one thoroughly enough. Any questions about it?
No, that's
Okay.
well, that's exactly what I wanted.
All right, good. Great, then I'll keep doing that.
So this is something I did while I was doing the VFX apprentice course. It
Mm-hmm.
was just okay. There's a zone, and it has to express an ability or something specific about that zone. So just make a design over it, make a design and try to convey the gameplay idea uh,
All
with that.
right, I like it. So we can go through these one at a time. I think this is really, really fun. So I love the motion and stylization of this fire. It's really interesting. It's really quite cool. I think with fire, hmm, it almost looks like friendly fire just because of how fast it's moving. Like
Yeah.
it's so slow and smooth and like interesting that I'm like, I feel like if I stand in that, then I'm gonna like become invulnerable with fire, you know, like I'm like it's gonna
Huh.
help me somehow because the shapes also are not necessarily they are fiery shapes, but they're like softened and sort of round and friendly. And there's not as much sharpness to it that I'm noticing. So because the shapes are sort of large, open, friendly areas, and also because of the motion, I see it as a friendly fire.
Huh. Interesting. Not exactly what I had in mind, but interesting.
Yeah, I'm guessing because you have a red line around it that you're saying this is a bad zone, stay out of it.
Yeah,
But
with dark shades behind and stuff like that.
mhm. Well,
But
the colors definitely read as threatening, but I'm saying the motion and the speed
mm,
fight against that. And so there's a
okay,
little bit of like, I don't know for sure that this would damage me, given
okay.
how slow it's moving, unless I'm reading the scale all wrong and like a character is like, you know, really tiny compared to this, then it would be
No,
moving very quickly in
not,
relative
not
proportion. But
yeah, not what I had in mind for sure.
yeah, okay. So then you've got sort of two variations on the same idea. You've got
Yeah,
a more organic one on the right, and then a more technological one on the left.
yeah.
Very cool. I think it throws me off a little bit that these particles kind of spawn at random locations.
Okay.
Um, it kind of tells me that is it important that there's one here and one there? Like it just it kind of throws off the balance of the composition.
Okay.
I think if they were like simpler, like they didn't have the ring around them, and
Hmm.
they were just little pluses that kind of floated up maybe more frequently or like in different areas or they had a shorter lifetime or something, like if basically they felt less important
Okay.
because they're kind of competing with the top plus sign in both of them, I would say.
Yeah.
But otherwise I really like the pools. I think that my preference would be the one on the right personally. I just think it has more interesting motion down below. I think if you wanted to soup up the one on the left, you could come up with more technological motion to
Mm,
supplement. Because up here you have this nice techie sort of ring around
yeah.
it, and I really like the beginning of that theming. And I think you could differentiate it a lot more from this one if you emphasize some technological like symbology down in the AOE.
Okay.
It's just a theming thing. And again, that's pretty subjective. Like, I'm just giving suggestions based on I'm seeing these two next to each other and assuming that they might live in the same game together.
Hmm.
And if they did live in the same game together, I would want them to feel much more distinct from each other,
Yeah, I agree.
right? So, and because they're in the same video together, it's kind of like, well, make them different, you know?
Yeah.
All right. And then blood. Cool. Whoa, that does that like swipe away is kind of cool. It's kind of like they're kind of like magical bubbles because like normal bubbles don't pop like that.
Yeah. More
So
like thick, weird bubbles.
yeah, yeah. So it kind of tells me that combined with like the rising bits kind of tell me that this is like very evil, very scary. Stay away from it. It's like unnatural, magical, spooky, bloody magic or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the idea. So,
Yeah, cool. I mean, the touches of purple really help. By the way, very good use of color. I love those like
thank you.
dark areas of the purple just kind of popping up in there, and you adjusted the values so nicely. Like this one is probably I don't know, this next one's probably my favorite, but like probably like craft wise, as far as being well executed, I think this is probably my favorite one. Theming wise, I'm really fascinated by this one. This is a really fun theme. Uh, like I'm not sure what to think about it because it's like bright and happy, but it also has these really dark tones in there too. And then it feels like, you know, this like happy magical star, but then it's kind of reads as like techie with that rotating part as well.
Mm,
So like this here feels like sort of like ancient technology or something.
Yeah.
And then this in the middle is very much like cartoony Happy Land. Like I think of Kirby, or I think of like you know,
Star Guardian.
yeah, Star Guardian or magical girls of any kind. That combined with the colors makes me think that. But then I
Yeah.
see sort of this. There's probably at least 3 or 4 themes in here, where there's the happy-go-lucky star, which is the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
There's the dark and moody, like color shading differences in here, where it goes really desaturated dark, which creates like a sense of like mystery or foreboding or some kind of interest like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
the ancient technology, kind of like, I don't know, something like in Breath of the Wild, how they have like the Sheikah tech, where it's like
Yeah.
swooping ley lines and like things like that. But then around the outside, it's like a modern musical equalizer kind of thing, where it has like these, it looks like tick marks on like a volume visualizer or something,
Yeah.
with like little beats of music coming off, like a rhythm game almost. So the theming here, I think, could be reined in to and clamped down. Oh, I just saw the little bokeh dots too. Those are nice.
Yeah.
The little shiny dots.
Maybe the tech shapes are there. Maybe the most out of place. I'd say. I mean, if I if I rework these zones, that's probably the first thing I'd rework, because
Yeah,
it's like the most out of place theme,
I'd
as you
agree with
say.
that. Yeah, I'd agree. I think these lines need to go first. The next thing I would work on would be the color,
Yeah.
to just figure out, like, I mean, I think it's fine to have variation in hues, but where you've got such a dark, it's almost like a black hole in the middle. It's not quite, because it has like some orange. I
Mm.
love your boldness of experimenting with color on this, but I feel like it's just not coming together quite yet.
Okay.
I think you've got a good color depth. Now you just need a good color distribution of where to put what. Like, where do your darks go? Where do your lights go?
Mm.
Which colors do you want? Like, maybe there's other colors you could add, like probably some cyan in there might be good, or something more to get away from just this dark gray that
Yeah.
kind of sucks the life out of it.
Yeah. Well, I think this gray comes from the background, so obviously it's very well
Mm,
context sensitive. But I get what you mean. Yeah, more
yeah.
a contrast, maybe not by saturation, but by hue, like you say, a cyan color.
Well, it might
Would
be that. So if the key is you want to be able to see the background, you can pull that off with like a more emissive, translucent thing. Like make it, like bring down the alpha, but then make it like additive in its blend type,
Mm-hmm.
and so then it'll bring up the background behind it nicely,
Yeah.
so you can still see it clearly, but it also brightens the background behind it, as
Yeah.
opposed to leaving it dark. It'll feel more like it's casting light down, but then also still allowing you that clarity that you might be looking for by letting the ground behind it shine through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take notes while you're speaking. So
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, you can just go, is this in Unreal or Unity?
I'm mostly on Unity. Like, okay, I'm 100% Unity.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, I'm not as familiar in Unity, but you would want to go into like the material blending type or rendering
Yeah.
type and make it additive as opposed to just translucent.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. And well, then we have the concept.
Yeah, these are great.
So as you can see, one of
Okay.
them was scrapped, the other one was changed a little bit. Like, but I'm still quite satisfied with the result. I just ended up not following the concept as strictly as I might have wanted initially.
Mm, hmm
But
hmm
I think it's for the best. I mean, for
Yeah.
the zone we just see, I think it was for the best.
Well, I think yeah, there's some things in these concepts that definitely, we talked about things not being as unified, and I think there's things in here that definitely unify. Like here, you've got there's the extra element of the, what is it, an EKG, the thing that monitors heart rate,
Yeah.
which is great for like medical. Like I think that's actually brilliant. Like putting that into a healing buff. I would love to see that in the in game. Uh, here there's much sharper shapes overall, like the which is fascinating to me. I can kind of understand now why there would be a darker center
Hmm.
where you've kind of got this focus on, it's like space technology or like holy technology or something else, where it's a little
Yeah.
more indifferent and it's not just like uh, pure happy-go-luckiness.
Yeah.
But like the other colors that you added in with the pink starts telling me that it's trying to be very friendly, whereas here maybe it's just like indifferent space celestial magic, you
Yeah.
know, from a very advanced culture and society, but that maybe also if you're on the wrong side of it, it could be very threatening.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. Like the difference, like seeing this is really helpful because it kind of peeks into your brain about what you were thinking. And this one's just so cool. You got to do this one.
Yeah, I have no idea how it should move or how it should be, like, no idea how it would work, but
Yeah.
uh, you're not the first one to tell me that, oh, I want to see that in 3D.
You could probably do ribbons with very low tessellation
Mm,
and they would just kind of like chop around. I don't know, like getting that to look right is going to be a bit of a pain, but um, you could probably have some fun with that. Getting it to bend so that it's one color on one side and another color on another. Like
mhm.
here it's dark and then here it's light. For that, you would need to use meshes.
Yeah.
A ribbon would be a really bad solution for that. But I've seen like one thing we do in the class is, in these sort of ethereal wisp, the magical wisp,
Yes.
we have the outer shell one color and then the inner shell another color.
Yeah.
And that's just by, it's the same mesh, but then the normals are out on one mesh and the normals are in on another.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so then you can have the same material playing out, but then on one material it's tinted darker and on the other it's tinted lighter. So that way you
Yeah.
can get the feeling of like a shell. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you could do something like that here, where it like animates along a mesh, and then everything, the animation is identical on both of them. So then the vertex offset happens. You would have to invert the vertex offset if you wanted that to move.
Hmm.
So on the one where the normals are out, the vertex offset would be positive, and the one where it's in, you just put a negative number so that it would follow it and vertex offset the same.
Yeah. Huh.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Be a really fun solution.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be rad. Well, these are fun.
Yay, flamethrower. We needed one, so I just had fun with that.
I think for this, it's stylistically really interesting.
Mm.
I do have a hard time understanding how to create this as a particle artist. I think it works well as a still image, but then might start to struggle as an image in
Yeah.
motion.
And well, I cannot show it to you, but the flamethrower we ended up having is really different in terms of look. It has the same colors,
Yeah,
and but that's like all I could keep really
yeah.
from the concept.
I would assume that because it's hard to tell from this where things are going, how they're traveling exactly around the forms. And
Yeah.
it's also hard to know what the different particles might be. Like if this is a mesh, then how am I going to get the mesh to feel like that and then also tie into the thing coming into it?
Mm.
This one is especially difficult because I don't know how to get a beam to feel like that and to look good from any angle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just being conscious of the challenges that you're creating for yourself as you do
Yeah.
the concepts of like, yeah, okay, this looks cool, but how how does this help me? Like,
Yeah,
how is this
right.
more than just inspiration? And that's one common thing we'll often say about any given concept art is it executable, or is it rather, is it usable,
Mm,
or is it just good for inspiration and maybe
yeah.
a color palette or something, right? And so what the trouble I run into with inspiration pieces is that it creates a false expectation with my team.
Oh,
They
okay.
think that I'm going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be, it's not going to look like this, and they might get disappointed later. And so it
Yeah,
actually, I can shoot myself in the foot if I do concept art that's too inspirational and
yeah,
not enough practical.
I get that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's a funny thing because the first concept of the flamethrower is actually the one that looks the closest to what we have in game.
Oh, really? Well, now
Yeah.
I got to see it. I mean,
Uh, yeah. Once I get to record it, I probably post it to the forum.
that'd be
Of,
great. I'm always curious because I will admit, like sometimes there's some wizardry that you can do to pull off something like this and get it to just look like that. And
mhm,
I'd be curious to see how that was done. That's really interesting.
mhm.
So more power to you that if you were able to get this, that's really interesting.
No,
Cool.
not exactly that complexity of
Sure.
shapes and stuff like that. Like much more simple.
Sure. Well, that's cool. These are awesome. I love these so much.
Yeah, laser beams.
Laser cat.
Yeah, because it's funny, but people in my team always reacted to the cat. They were like, "Oh, this cat it shoots lasers."
Well, there's a story there, right? That's
Yeah,
fun. I mean, really excellent use of color. I just want to call out, like, here, this is just so pretty. It's like, yeah, it's a blue beam, but you have these touches of pink and yellow and purple. And like, just those little touches add so much. And like, more power to you on that. Oh, people couldn't see the cat because my head's in the way.
yeah,
Um, that's really cool. This is kind of goopy, like that. Zappy zap one. Cool stuff. Are these, were you doing these before the class or after the lightning bolt?
after the class.
Yeah, the
Uh,
lightning bolt one kind of, this one is the closest, I think.
yeah,
And then,
uh,
did you do this on first?
yes,
And then I
absolutely.
love that you riffed on it and you went in all these fun directions.
Mm.
That's so cool.
It was for tower defense. We had like turrets that had elemental properties, and they would synergize together. So
Oh,
we didn't have the time to put that like make specific VFXs, so it kind of we had to drop the idea, but this is where I wanted to go initially.
oh wow. Yeah, that's rad. Cool, cool. Well, we're running low on time. Was there anything else that you specifically wanted to look over?
I think we covered the most important. So if you want to just I don't know say something about my portfolio, perhaps. Like
Yeah, so in general, I mean, I think you have a very strong portfolio. I think your stuff is definitely geared towards a more like exaggerated style,
yeah,
or like a more punchy, personality packed kind of style.
yeah,
And I think that I think the theming on some of your abilities and stuff is probably your weakest point, is actually carrying through a clear theme. I
yeah,
think that's generally where your effects struggle. So keep in mind, both as you're painting them and figuring out how the particle is constructed itself, like
hmm,
what are the goals of it, especially if you're doing a personal project like the Pokemon one.
yeah,
Like, if you're going to be doing a more personal thing, treat it as if you had an assignment from a designer and there's a very
yeah,
clear gameplay need for it, and that'll save you a lot of trouble later on. um,
absolutely,
and then, yeah, just like understanding what is the primary read of what I'm working on, what's like the coolest thing about it, the thing that the moment someone sees it, they say it is this, like this is what that effect is or does, or who made the effect or something like that, so that the story is clear.
Yeah.
I think that would be my biggest advice. You've got the chops and the skills to do beautiful, amazing, wonderful effects. Like the craftsmanship is definitely there. It's all about now your execution and your theming, just getting that dialed in, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. This is where I struggle the most.
Cool. Well, you'll get there. I mean, I'm so excited to see, where you go next and all the cool stuff that you keep doing.
Yeah, I'll keep on posting, whether it's on Real-Time VFX or VFX Apprentice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just check those websites on a daily basis. So
Awesome. Yeah, realtimevfx.com is just amazing. I love it. It's so helpful.
so many good things, so many technical wizardries, and it's magic.
It really is. Well, all right, Hermione, we will catch you another time then.
Yeah, thank you very much,
All right.
Jason.
Yeah.
And I'll see. Well, I hope you'll give us more courses. I can't wait to see what you have in your bag. And well, see you another time.
Yes, more on the way for sure. This year, I'm hoping to get a couple more classes out.
Great.
So
Very great.
here we go. We'll get it done.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right. You have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you. Goodbye.